Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks for being here tonight. I know it means a lot to certainly me, but I'm sure all the other students as well that you guys gave your time up tonight to come listen to us talk. So my name is Walker McHugh. I'm one of the co-founders of PreDxion Bio. PreDxion Bio is a precision medicine company looking to fundamentally change how we care for the sickest patients in intensive care units. I guess I should stay over here. So each year in the United States, there's over 5 million ICU admissions. These admissions count for over half of our nation's inpatient hospital charges. And what's more, 80% of these admissions are ultimately driven by an out-of-control immune response. So when you come into the ICU, let's say in shock, pending organ failure, what we do to you, the gold standard, is essentially unchanged in 30 years. We give you fluids, drugs to support your blood pressure, and an antibiotic if we think you have an infection. This is a one-size-fits-all approach, and it's purely reactive, and it fundamentally ignores the underlying biology that drives many critical illnesses. So how do we get here? Well, it's certainly not for lack of trying. So I think it's actually a little easier to explain or to show you than to explain it, but essentially I think we asked the wrong questions. So in the past, if you were to develop a new therapeutic and trial this in the ICU, what would you do? You'd give it to everyone. You'd think it was a golden bullet and it was going to save everyone's life. So you'd give this broadly across the entire ICU. The problem with this approach, however, is that not everyone needs your golden bullet. So the reality is only 25 to 30% of patients in the ICU ultimately die. So there's really only a potential to have an impact in these small, high-risk cohort of patients. So the result is that if you give this drug to everyone, while in high-risk patients, you can actually save life and show benefit in the patient. In low-risk patient, a patient that was going to survive otherwise, just the mathematical probability is that you've probably caused harm to the patient. And so across the entire clinical trial, there's really no net benefit. And so this has been showed in numerous clinical trials. And so basically, as you increase risk of death, you're just mathematically more likely to see a benefit in any sort of therapeutic that you're looking at. And in low-risk patients, by doing something they don't necessarily need, you're more likely to cause harm. And so this is an idea that's called prognostics. So that's one piece of what PreDxion is looking to do. How are we going to do this? Well, this is MicroKine. It's our patent-pending diagnostic platform, which allows us in just 30 minutes to measure and quantify your immune response from a single drop of blood. So this time difference is over 10 times faster than any existing technology platform. And in the ICU, that's really a matter of life and death for our patients. So how might this work? So now that when you come into the ICU, shock, pending organ failure, using MicroKine, we can actually identify which patients are most likely to benefit from any therapy. So we're now able to take the high-risk patients and then profile their biology and actually understand which component of their immune response is out of control, and then drugs that are already FDA approved that we can use to actually reverse this process. So it's fairly intuitive, I think. So we basically identify patients that are at high risk. And then in these high-risk patients, which specific component of their biology is likely to work. This is essentially what we've done for cancers now for 30, 40 years is what we're looking to do for the ICU. So how sick are you? What's the stage of your cancer? And then what's the biology that's driving that illness? And more importantly, which drugs can we use to intervene and reverse that process? PreDxion is looking to operate as a fairly standard razor blade business model. So we're initially focused on patients with severe infection. This is a smaller cohort. It makes up about 20% of all ICU patients. We're looking at initial pricing around $500 per cartridge, an initial risk stratification, and then additional therapeutic monitoring. So not just which drug do you need, but how long do you need that drug? Do you need a different drug as you progress in the ICU? So just back of a napkin, this becomes a $1.5 billion market. I think one of the more kind of interesting things to think about as kind of our healthcare system starts to change is not just what's the value that I can capture, but what's the value that we're creating for our patients. And so how we've gone about thinking about this is in these low-risk patients, by being able to identify them rapidly, we're preventing them being exposed to unnecessary and also very costly treatments in the ICU. And then the flip side of that, in high-risk patients, if we're able to make some of these therapies successful, we estimate, looking at the literature, that we could see as much of a 1-day length of stay decrease. And when you're in an ICU, a single day can cost as much as $5,000 to $10,000. So a single length of stay has significant cost benefits for healthcare systems. This is my team. I'm up here alone today, but I certainly didn't get here alone. I'm a biomedical engineering graduate student. Tim Cornell is a pediatric intensivist at Mott Children's Hospital. This technology is actually a technology that we've collaborated with extensively with a group of mechanical engineers here at the University of Michigan, and the technology obviously wouldn't be possible without all of their help over the years. One of our other co-founders, Caroline, who's currently in San Francisco, has a tremendous amount of go-to-market strategy in therapeutics and medical devices. So I was asked to say a little bit about our TechArb experience. So Ryan was pretty humble at the beginning, saying there's no real single person. But he's really what I would call a force multiplier. So here at the university, there's some real champions, I think, for the students like us, that what we're trying to do. And Ryan is certainly at the top of that list of those folks. He really drives us to ask more of ourselves and more of others. So you heard a lot of people, I think, say what the community likes at TechArb, and I think that's really a testament to the standards that Ryan sets for us all. And then last but not least, my lovely wife and daughter, who allow me to do this crazy sorts of things and travel. So I thank them for all their love and support. So thanks.